The massive viewport spanning the upper observation deck of Nexus Prime offered an unobstructed view of the swirling gases of the Kepler rim. Cosmic dust and stellar radiation painted streaks of crimson and violet across the darkness. A beautiful, yet deadly display that had claimed countless ships over centuries. This was precisely why Nexus Prime existed. A massive space station strategically positioned at the only safe passage through the rim, controlling all commerce and travel between 12 star systems. Felix leaned against the railing, his muscular frame relaxed but alert, eyes scanning the crowd of aliens with practiced precision. As the only human on the observation deck, he drew curious and wary glances. Humans were rare this far from Earth, and those familiar with galactic politics knew why. Earth was classified as a death world, a harsh planet that produced unnaturally resilient and potentially dangerous sentient life. The term Deathworlder had become both a slur and a badge of honor depending on who used it. To most aliens, it meant unpredictable, violent, and primitive. To those who hired Deathworlders as mercenaries, it meant effective, adaptable, and worth every credit. Felix had fought in 3 planetary conflicts before his 30th birthday. His scarred hands and the cybernetic enhancement visible at his left temple told stories he rarely shared. Now, at 35, he had established himself as a neutral party in the complex web of interstellar politics. Someone who could be trusted to complete a job without taking sides. His attention shifted to a small commotion near the bar. 2 groups of aliens, one wearing distinctive red armbands, the other with blue insignias, were engaged in a heated exchange. Security personnel were already moving to intervene. Shadowbane and Void Star foot soldiers, a voice said beside him. They can't even share a drink without territorial posturing. Felix turned to face a Vendari, a species known for their alabaster skin and exceptional diplomatic skills. Torvin, he acknowledged with a nod. I thought we were meeting in private. Torvin's 4-fingered hand gestured dismissively. Change of plans. The situation has deteriorated faster than anticipated. I needed to confirm you were still unattached to either faction. Felix raised an eyebrow. You could have just asked. Words are cheap. Actions reveal truth. Torvin produced a small device and slid it across the railing. This contains the security codes for both Shadowbane and Void Star territories on this station. The administrator has been informed of your potential involvement. What exactly am I being hired to do, Torvin? The Vendari's mouth curled into what passed for a smile among his species. Prevent a war. 2 crime syndicates, both with legitimate claims to trade routes, both led by queens who would rather burn the galaxy than yield. They need a neutral mediator. And they agreed to a human? They agreed to a Deathworlder, someone who understands violence intimately enough to recognize when it becomes counterproductive. A soft chime from Torvin's wrist device interrupted them. The Vendari checked it, his expression hardening. Time to prove your worth, Felix. Station security is approaching the observation deck. 6 officers, armed with neural disruptors. They've been told you're an assassin targeting both syndicate representatives. Felix straightened, scanning the exits. This is your test? Incapacitate them without permanent injury. You have 30 seconds before they arrive. If you succeed, I'll double your fee and provide detailed briefings on both crime queens. Without waiting for a response, Torvin melted into the crowd, leaving Felix alone at the railing. 28 seconds later, 6 security officers lay unconscious or immobilized around the observation deck. Felix had disarmed the first 2 before they could draw their weapons, used one officer's neural disruptor against his colleagues, and neutralized the final 2 with targeted strikes to pressure points. Not a single shot had been fired, and the entire incident had occurred so swiftly that most patrons barely registered the conflict before it ended. Torvin reappeared, nodding appreciatively. Impressive, most impressive. Felix returned the neural disruptor to an unconscious officer. Was that really necessary? Absolutely. Kiran and Valeth need to know you're capable. They respect strength above all else. Torvin gestured toward a private elevator. They're waiting. Separately. Of course. Neither would agree to be in the same room as the other. As they entered the elevator, Torvin handed Felix a datapad. Your first meeting is with Kiran of the Shadowbane Syndicate. She claims Void Star ambushed one of her shipments. Military-grade technology, bound for the outer colonies. Valeth of the Void Star Cartel counters that Shadowbane has been supplying insurgents with weapons that have killed her people. And what's the truth? Torvin's expression remained neutral. That, Deathworlder, is what you're being paid to discover. The elevator descended through the core of Nexus Prime, passing through layers of commerce, residence, and finally, the station's administrative section. Felix studied the datapad, memorizing details about both syndicate leaders and their organizations. Shadowbane had begun as a legitimate security firm before expanding into protection of vulnerable colonies. They controlled the majority of the station's entertainment and hospitality sectors. Void Star had evolved from a mining consortium into an information brokerage and smuggling operation, dominating the technology and data markets. Both organizations operated in the gray areas of galactic law, neither entirely legal nor completely criminal. Both provided services that the official government either couldn't or wouldn't, and both were led by women who had risen through brutal hierarchies to claim their thrones. The elevator stopped at a private suite reserved for diplomatic meetings. The doors opened to reveal a space decorated in deep crimson and gold, the colors of the Shadowbane Syndicate. Kiran stood at a window overlooking the station's massive docking bays. She was Thraxian, a species known for their resilience and passion. Her scaled skin glinted with metallic highlights, and the ceremonial battle scars along her arms spoke of countless victories. She wore an elegant but practical combat suit in Shadowbane colors, with multiple hidden weapon sheaths that Felix instantly identified. "The Deathworlder arrives," she said without turning. Her voice carried a musical quality despite the harshness of her words. "I expected someone larger." Felix remained near the entrance, keeping a respectful distance. "Size isn't everything." She turned then, yellow eyes narrowing as she assessed him. "So I've heard. Torvin says you disabled 6 station security officers in under 30 seconds, without killing any of them." She seemed almost disappointed by the last part. "Killing station security would have complicated our meeting." A smile spread across her face, revealing sharp teeth. "Practical. I appreciate that." She gestured to a seating area. "Come, let's discuss why you're here." Felix took a seat across from her, noting how she positioned herself with a clear view of both the entrance and the window. "I understand there's been an incident with a shipment." "Incident," Kiran hissed. "Is that what Torvin called it? My flagship cargo vessel was attacked without provocation. 37 of my people killed. Cargo worth millions of credits stolen. And all evidence points to Void Star." "What kind of evidence?" "Residual energy signatures from their specialized EMP weapons. Communication fragments with Void Star encryption. The attack pattern itself, surgical, precise, targeting our weapon systems first." She leaned forward. "Valeth has grown tired of our arrangement. She wants control of the entire Kepler Rim passage." "And the cargo. I was told it was military technology." Kiran's expression hardened. "Defensive systems for colony worlds. Legal and licensed. But valuable on the black market?" "Everything is valuable on the black market. Deathworlder. That doesn't mean I operate there." She stood abruptly, moving to a control panel. "I've prepared a complete manifest of the stolen cargo, along with tracking data from the ship's journey." Felix accepted another datapad she offered. "Why agree to mediation? With evidence like this, you could take it to the Galactic Council." Kiran laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "The Council? They're toothless, corrupt. Half of them are in Valeth's pocket. the other half in mine. No, this requires personal attention. So why not simply retaliate? Because despite what you may have heard, I'm not a fool. Open warfare between our organizations would destabilize the entire sector. Millions would die. Trade would collapse. She returned to her seat. And there's something else. Something that doesn't make sense. Felix waited, sensing she was measuring how much to reveal. The attack was too perfect, she finally said. Void Star is good, but not that good. No casualties on their side, no witnesses left alive, no recoverable ship data. It's as if they knew exactly when and where to strike, had our complete security protocols, and disappeared without a trace. You think they had inside help? Perhaps. Or perhaps it wasn't Void Star at all. She fixed him with an intense stare. That's why you're here, Deathworlder. Find the truth. If Valeth is responsible, I want proof that will stand up to scrutiny. If someone else is trying to pit us against each other. Her hand moved to a ceremonial dagger at her belt. They will learn why I am called the Crimson Queen. Felix nodded, reviewing the data. I'll need access to your records of the ship's journey, crew manifest, and any communications before the attack. Already on the pad, my second-in-command, Dravex, will provide anything else you require. She stood, signaling the end of their meeting. One more thing. Felix of Earth, if I discover you're working against my interests, what happened to those security officers will seem merciful compared to what I'll do to you. Felix rose, maintaining eye contact. Understood. But remember, you hired me for my neutrality. That's what you'll get. Kiran's expression softened slightly. Good. Few have the courage to speak to me without groveling. Perhaps you Deathworlders are worth your reputation after all. After leaving Kiran's suite, Felix was escorted through a series of secure corridors to an entirely different section of the station, where Shadowbane's territory had been warm and ornate. Void Star's domain was cool and minimalist. Blues and silvers dominated the decor, with holographic displays showing real-time data flows from across the galaxy. Valeth awaited him in a circular chamber that appeared to float in space, though Felix knew it was an illusion created by floor-to-ceiling viewport screens. The Void Star Matriarch was ethereal, a species of energy beings who maintained physical form through specialized containment suits. Her humanoid figure was wrapped in a sleek, midnight blue outfit that pulsed with subtle light patterns, both fashion and necessity. "The human arrives," she said, her voice carrying an electronic undertone. "I've been watching your progress through the station. Your efficiency against those security officers was adequate." Felix kept his expression neutral. High praise from the Void Star. A ripple of light, laughter, perhaps, moved across her suit. Indeed, we value precision above all else. She gestured to a floating chair that materialized nearby. Please, be seated. I understand you've already spoken with the Crimson Queen. Felix sat, noticing how the chair adjusted perfectly to his physiology. I have. And no doubt she filled your head with tales of unprovoked attacks and stolen cargo. Valeth moved gracefully across the room, seemingly gliding rather than walking. Let me guess. She mentioned defense technology for colonies. Something like that. What she neglected to mention was the nature of these colonies. Valeth waved a hand, and holographic star maps appeared between them. These highlighted systems are currently in rebellion against the Galactic Council. These red markers indicate Shadowbane weapon shipments over the past 3 months. Felix studied the data, comparing it mentally with what Kiran had shown him. You're claiming she's arming insurgents. I'm not claiming anything. I'm showing you facts. Another gesture brought up shipping manifests. Kiran has always been ambitious, but lately, she's become reckless. The technology in that shipment wasn't defensive. It was prototype planetary bombardment systems, capable of penetrating planetary shields. And you know this how? Valeth's containment suit flickered briefly. Information is our business, Deathworlder, just as violence is yours. So you admit to attacking her ship? I admit nothing of the sort. Valeth's tone remained even. If we had attacked that vessel, there would be no evidence to find, no survivors to tell tales, no mysterious energy signatures conveniently matching our weapons. Felix leaned forward. Then who did? That is the correct question. Valeth brought up another display showing the wreckage of the Shadowbane vessel. Look closely at the damage patterns, the entry points, the precision of the strikes. Felix examined the images, recognizing immediately what she was suggesting. This was a military operation, not criminal. Precisely. The attack bears all the hallmarks of Special Operations Command, a branch of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Valeth moved closer. Someone wants Shadowbane and Void Star at each other's throats, and I suspect I know why. She brought up legal documents and council proceedings. 3 months ago, a proposal was introduced to militarize the Kepler Rim passage, to place it under direct council control. The measure failed when both our organizations lobbied against it. And if there's a crime war at the Rim, the council would have justification to intervene. Valeth's containment suit pulsed with brighter light. Nexus Prime would fall under martial law. Both our organizations would be dismantled. Decades of carefully constructed power networks destroyed. Felix processed this information, comparing it with Kiran's account. Both made logical sense, yet both contained convenient gaps. What do you want from me? The same thing Kiran wants, the truth. Find out who's really behind the attack. Bring me proof. And if the proof implicates Shadowbane or Void Star? Valeth was silent for a moment. If Kiran ordered this, deception, then our accord is already broken. War is inevitable. But I suspect we're both being manipulated. Felix stood. I'll need access to your monitoring systems, particularly any data collected around the time of the attack. Already arranged. My lieutenant, Saren, will provide whatever you require. Valeth moved to the edge of the room, where the illusion of space was most convincing. One last thing. Human. Kiran is passionate, impulsive. I am not. If you betray me, you won't see your death coming. It will simply happen. Felix nodded. Duly noted. For the next 48 hours, Felix immersed himself in data from both syndicates. He established a temporary base in a neutral section of the station, converting a storage unit into an investigation hub with Torvin's help. Wall-to-wall displays showed shipping routes, attack simulations, crew backgrounds, and intercepted communications. The more he investigated, the more convinced he became that neither Kiran nor Valeth was being entirely truthful. Yet neither seemed to be behind the attack. The shipping manifests didn't match. Shadowbane's records showed legitimate defense technology, while Void Star's intelligence indicated weapons of mass destruction. Both couldn't be true. The crew manifest was equally puzzling. 3 key personnel had been added to the ship just before departure, all with impeccable Shadowbane credentials. Yet Felix could find no record of their existence before 6 months ago. Most concerning was the ship's trajectory. According to Kiran's data, it had maintained a standard course through the Kepler Rim, but Void Star's monitoring systems showed a 2-hour detour into an unmarked region, a detour missing from official logs. Felix was cross-referencing these discrepancies when the first assassination attempt came. A maintenance droid entering his quarters suddenly malfunctioned, its service tools deploying as weapons. Only Felix's Deathworlder reflexes saved him, allowing him to disable the droid before its cutting laser reached his throat. The second attempt came 6 hours later, a poison delivered through the environmental system. Again, his enhanced physiology detected the toxin before it took full effect, giving him time to inject a universal antidote. By the third attempt, A sniper shot that grazed his shoulder as he moved between sections. Felix had reached a conclusion. He was getting too close to the truth. He arranged simultaneous meetings with both crime queens, using Torvin as intermediary. To his surprise, both agreed, though with strict conditions. The meeting would occur in Nexus Prime's central administrative tower, neutral ground, with each leader allowed only one armed guard. The tension in the conference room was palpable. Kiran and Valeth sat at opposite ends of a long table, each with a trusted lieutenant standing guard. Felix remained standing, his bandaged shoulder a visible reminder of the stakes involved. "I've been investigating the attack on the Shadowbane vessel," he began, without preamble. "And I've reached several conclusions. First, neither of you ordered it." Both women remained expressionless, though Felix detected subtle changes in their posture. "Second," he continued, activating the room's holographic display. "The attack was a professional military operation designed to appear as though Void Star was responsible." Kiran leaned forward. "We already knew this." "What you may not know," Felix said, bringing up crew profiles, "is that 3 members of the ship's crew were infiltrators, not Void Star agents, military intelligence officers with artificially constructed backgrounds." Valeth's containment suit pulsed. "Who's military?" "That's where it gets interesting." Felix displayed intercepted communications. The encryption used matches Galactic peacekeeping force protocols, but with subtle variations consistent with a specific division: Special Operations, Black Directive. Kiran slammed a scaled fist on the table. "The Council's death squad? I knew it!" "Not quite," Felix corrected. "Black Directive doesn't operate without authorization from the highest levels. And according to Council records, which Torvin helped me access, no such authorization was given." "Meaning?" Valeth prompted. "Meaning someone with access to military resources is operating outside official channels." Felix brought up a new image, a shipping container recovered from the wreckage. "This is supposedly part of the stolen cargo, but look at the manufacturing code." Both syndicate leaders studied the image. "It's a Council military code," Kiran said. "Precisely. The ship was carrying military technology, but not what either of you thought." Felix enlarged the image. "These are components for prototype autonomous combat drones. Officially, such technology is banned under the Artificial Intelligence Warfare Treaty." Valeth's containment suit darkened. "Someone within the peacekeeping force is developing illegal weapons technology, using Shadowbane shipping routes, and staged an attack to cover their tracks while blaming Void Star. And creating a pretext for militarizing the Rim," Kiran added, her anger evident. Felix nodded. "I believe so, but I need more evidence to identify who—" The room's emergency lights suddenly activated, bathing everything in red. A station-wide alert blared through the speakers. "Attention all personnel. Multiple unauthorized breaches detected in sectors 7, 12, and 19. This is not a drill. Security teams to designated response points. All civilians, please proceed to shelter areas." Kiran and Valeth exchanged glances, their mutual hostility momentarily forgotten. "Those are our primary territories," Kiran said. Both hit simultaneously. Valeth's lieutenant whispered something in her ear. She nodded. "Confirmed. Professional strike teams. Military-grade weapons and tactics." Felix accessed the station's security feed on his datapad. "They're targeting your command centers and data storage facilities. This isn't a random attack. They're after something specific." Torvin burst into the room, his alabaster skin pale with stress. "The station is under attack. Armed commandos have breached multiple sections. Administrator Quillen requests your immediate presence in the central control room." "Trap," Kiran and Valeth said simultaneously. Felix agreed. "Whoever orchestrated the ship attack now wants all 3 of us in one location." "What do you suggest, Deathworlder?" Valeth asked, her usual coolness giving way to urgency. Felix considered their options. "We split up. Kiran, secure your people and data. Valeth, do the same. I'll go to the control room, if this is a trap. Better I spring it than either of you.
And why should we trust you?
Kiran demanded.
Because if I wanted you dead, I would have let you walk into the trap.
Felix checked his weapon.
Besides, I'm still being paid to solve this problem.
After a moment of tense silence, both crime queens nodded their agreement.
My people will assist yours,
Kiran told Valeth.
for now.
As will mine, Valeth replied. Temporarily.
As they prepared to leave,
Felix caught Torvin's eye.
You knew this was coming.
The Vendari didn't deny it.
I suspected. The pieces were moving too quickly, but I didn't know when or how.
Keep them alive, Felix instructed. I need answers, not corpses. The central control room was chaos when Felix arrived. Emergency systems blared warnings across multiple screens. Station security forces were overwhelmed, trying to coordinate responses to simultaneous attacks across multiple sectors. Administrator Quillen, a tall, slender Havrelian with the characteristic crest of his species, stood at the command console, issuing rapid orders. He looked up as Felix entered, relief visible on his features. The mediator arrives, thank the stars. Where are Kirana and Valeth? Securing their territories, Felix replied, scanning the room for threats. What's the situation? Quillen gestured to the main display. Professional strike teams breached our outer defenses using security codes that should have been impossible to obtain. They've targeted Shadowbane and Voidstar facilities specifically, but also our main data core and communication array. This isn't a robbery or territorial dispute, Felix observed. It's an information war. Precisely my assessment. Quillen manipulated the console, bringing up live security feeds. They're downloading data from both syndicate servers and uploading something to our core systems. Felix studied the attackers visible on screen. Their movements, coordination, and equipment confirmed his suspicions. These are military operators, special forces, the same unit that attacked the Shadowbane ship.
Impossible,
Quillen protested.
The peacekeeping force would never—
Not the entire force, Felix interrupted. A faction within it. Someone with enough authority to command special operations teams, but operating outside official channels. A new alert sounded, this one more urgent than the others.
The main data core,
Quillen exclaimed.
They've initiated a complete system purge.
Felix pushed him aside, his fingers flying over the controls. They're erasing evidence, everything related to both syndicates, station governance, shipping records. It's all being wiped.
Can you stop it?
Not from here. Felix accessed his datapad, sending encrypted messages to both Kiran and Valeth. But I know who might. Within minutes, specialist teams from both crime syndicates were fighting their way to the data core, not as rivals, but as allies. Shadowbane's elite security forces provided combat power, while Voidstar's tech specialists worked to counter the purge protocols. Felix coordinated from the control room, using his mercenary experience to direct their efforts. When a second wave of attackers targeted the station's life support systems, he personally led a counterattack, using his Deathworlder physiology to advantage in the close-quarters combat. 3 hours into the crisis, the tide began to turn. The mysterious commandos, finding themselves caught between the combined forces of two criminal empires, initiated extraction protocols. As they retreated, Felix managed to capture one, an injured soldier separated from his unit. By the time Kiran and Valeth arrived at the control room, the immediate danger had passed. Station systems were coming back online, and security teams were securing compromised areas. The captured commando sat bound to a chair, his military-grade armor removed, a defiant expression on his face despite his injuries. Felix had identified him as a Silthari, a species known for their loyalty and resistance to interrogation. He hasn't spoken, Felix informed the crime queens. But his equipment tells us enough. Unmarked military-grade armor, weapons restricted to peacekeeping forces. And this? He held up a small insignia found inside the man's collar, a silver star with a sword through it. Black Directive. Valeth moved closer to the prisoner. You attacked my people, killed my operatives. For what purpose? The commando remained silent, his eyes fixed on a point beyond them. Kiran growled in frustration. Let me extract the information. My methods are quite persuasive. That won't be necessary, a new voice said from the doorway. All eyes turned to see a tall, elegant human male enter the control room. He wore the formal attire of a high-ranking council official, charcoal gray with silver trim, multiple commendation pins on his chest. Deputy Director Arcturus Vane, Administrator Quillen said, his voice tinged with surprise and respect. The council sent you. As soon as we received word of the attack, Vane's voice was smooth, cultured. The council takes threats to major transit hubs very seriously. Felix studied the newcomer carefully. Interesting timing. Deputy Director, the attack only began 4 hours ago. Even with priority transit, the fastest council vessel would take at least 12 hours to reach Nexus Prime. Vane smiled thinly. Fortunate, then, that I was already in the sector on other business. Very fortunate, Valeth agreed, her containment suit pulsing with skepticism. Kiran moved to stand beside Felix, a subtle indication of alignment. Perhaps you can explain why Council Special Forces are attacking our organizations. Council Forces? Vane's expression registered surprise. Surely you're mistaken. The Council would never authorize— Save the performance, Felix interrupted, holding up the Black Directive insignia. We have proof. The only question is whether you're following orders or acting independently. A momentary flash of anger crossed Vane's features before his diplomatic mask returned. These are serious accusations. Mercenary. Accusations that could damage the peaceful relations between the Council and the business interests of the Kepler Rim. Relations that would be irrelevant if the Rim were militarized, Valeth noted. As proposed 3 months ago in Council proceedings. A proposal you personally championed, Kiran added, and which failed due to our intervention. Vane's smile vanished entirely. You've been well informed, but information without context is dangerous. He gestured to the bound commando. Release my operative. Now. Your operative? Felix raised an eyebrow. So you admit he's yours? Vane's composure slipped further. I admit nothing except that you're interfering with council business. Administrator Quillen, I must insist you exercise your authority, detain these individuals, and surrender the prisoner to my custody. Quillen hesitated, looking between the council official and the united front of Felix, Kiran, and Valeth. Before you decide, Administrator, Felix said quietly, you should know that Void Star's technicians recovered data from the Purge, including communications between Deputy Director Vane and the commander of the team that attacked the Shadowbane vessel. Impossible, Vane snapped. Those records were encrypted with— He stopped, realizing his mistake. With Black Directive protocols, Felix finished for him, which only someone with your clearance could authorize. The tension in the room crystallized. Vane's hand moved subtly toward his side, where Felix suspected a concealed weapon waited. Administrator Quillen, Vane said, his voice now cold and authoritative. I am invoking Emergency Directive 7. Nexus Prime is hereby placed under Council protection. You will surrender control of all station functions to me immediately. Before Quillen could respond, Kiran stepped forward. Directive 7 requires Council majority approval. Do you have such authorization, Deputy Director? My authority is sufficient, Vane insisted. Is it? Valeth countered, producing a data crystal. Because according to Council protocols, which my specialists are intimately familiar with, unauthorized invocation of Directive 7 constitutes treason. Vane's facade cracked completely. You criminal filth. You have no idea what's at stake. The Rim must be controlled. Order must be maintained. The Council is too weak, too compromised by your bribes and influence. So you manufactured a crisis, Felix concluded. Staged an attack on a Shadowbane vessel using stolen Void Star signatures. Planted illegal weapons technology to justify intervention. All to start a war that would let you seize control of the Rim. For the greater good, Vane insisted. The passage through the Kepler Rim is too strategically valuable to be left in the hands of criminals and mercenaries. And too profitable to leave uncontrolled, Kiran added bitterly. Administrator Quillen had heard enough. Security. Detain Deputy Director Vane pending investigation into these allegations. Vane's hand emerged with a small device. I think not. He pressed a button, and emergency klaxons blared once more. My remaining teams have placed demolition charges throughout the station. Surrender control, or Nexus Prime becomes a debris field. The room froze in momentary shock, a moment Felix used to his advantage. With Deathworlder speed, he crossed the distance to Vane, knocking the device from his hand and driving him to the floor. "Signal jammer!" he shouted to Valeth, who immediately produced a small sphere from her containment suit. "Activated," she confirmed, as the sphere emitted a pulse of energy. Any remote detonation signals are blocked within 2 kilometers. Felix hauled Vane to his feet, restraining him efficiently. "Administrator, I suggest you find those demolition charges. Quickly." Quillen nodded, already coordinating with station security. On it. Kiran approached the captured commando, who had watched the confrontation with growing uncertainty. "Your commander has been compromised. Where are the charges?" After witnessing Vane's capture and true agenda, the commando's resolve wavered. Main power junction, life support hub, docking clamps on levels 3, 7, and 12. As station security raced to secure the explosives, Felix turned his attention back to Vane. "Why?" "The real reason." Vane's aristocratic features twisted with contempt. "You wouldn't understand. None of you would. The galaxy needs order. True order. Not this chaotic system where criminals operate with impunity and Deathworlders sell their violence to the highest bidder." "You wanted to create a private empire," Valeth observed. "Using council resources but answering to no one." "I wanted to create peace," Vane shouted. "Real peace, enforced by strength. The council debates while worlds burn. Syndicates like yours profit from suffering. Someone had to take action." "By causing more suffering," Kiran said flatly. "How principled." As station security led Vane away, Felix turned to the 2 crime queens. "This isn't over. Vane may be caught, but he wouldn't have acted without supporters in the council. People who share his vision. People who will disavow him now that he's failed," Valeth agreed, "and try again through other means." Kiran nodded grimly. "Which leaves us with a choice. Return to our territorial dispute. Or find a different approach," Felix finished. 2 weeks later, Felix stood once more at the viewport on Nexus Prime's observation deck. The swirling gases of the Kepler Rim seemed unchanged, but the station itself had transformed dramatically. Where once Shadowbane Red and Void Star Blue had marked strict territorial boundaries, now those colors intermingled throughout the public spaces. Joint security teams patrolled the corridors. Businesses that had pledged exclusive allegiance to one syndicate now served both equally. "Admiring your handiwork, Deathworlder?" Torvin asked, joining him at the railing. Felix shrugged. "I just prevented a war. What came after wasn't my doing." "Wasn't it?" The Vendari seemed amused. 2 crime queens who would rather burn the galaxy than yield have formed an alliance. Smaller syndicates throughout the sector have joined their coalition, and the Council's attempt to militarize the Rim has been thoroughly discredited. "For now," Felix cautioned, "Vane's trial will reveal some of his collaborators, but not all. And his ideology will find new champions. Which is precisely why the Alliance has retained your services as strategic advisor." Torvin produced a data crystal. Your new contract, significantly more generous than your mediator fee. Felix accepted the crystal without looking at it. Did you know? About Vane? About the planned attack? Torvin's expression grew serious. I suspected something larger was in motion. That's why I sought a Deathworlder. Someone with both the skills to uncover the truth and the adaptability to respond when that truth proved complicated. And the station security officers I had to fight? Was that really a test? Or were you confirming your suspicions about Vane's infiltration? Can it not be both? Torvin gestured toward an approaching figure. Ah, your new employer arrives. Kiran strode confidently through the crowd, which parted respectfully before her. Her battle armor had been replaced with more formal attire, though Felix noted she still carried multiple concealed weapons. Advisor Felix, she greeted him. Valeth is waiting in the council chamber. The representatives from the independent syndicates have arrived. Felix nodded. I'll be there momentarily. As Kiran departed, Torven gave Felix a knowing look. From neutral mediator to architect of a criminal empire. An interesting career progression. Not a criminal empire, Felix corrected. A coalition of independent interests with legitimate grievances against a corrupt system. Is that how you justify it to yourself? Felix turned back to the viewport, watching as ships from a dozen worlds docked at the station, all bearing markings of syndicates now allied with Shadowbane and Voidstar. I don't need justification, Torvin. I need purpose. He straightened his new formal attire, charcoal gray with subtle red and blue accents. And exposing corruption at the highest levels of galactic government seems like purpose enough. Torvin nodded thoughtfully. And if this coalition eventually becomes what it opposes, if power corrupts your new allies, as it did Vane, then someone will need to hold them accountable too. Felix moved toward the exit. That's the thing about Deathworlders. Torvin, we're adaptable. The council chamber, once a neutral meeting room, now the heart of the new coalition, hummed with activity as representatives from independent syndicates across the sector gathered. At the center table sat Kiran and Valeth, former enemies now united by common threat and opportunity. Felix took his place beside them, the human Deathworlder between two alien crime queens. As conversations quieted and attention focused on the triumvirate, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. He had come to Nexus Prime as a hired mediator, expecting a simple dispute between rival criminals. Instead, he had uncovered conspiracy at the highest levels of government, prevented a manufactured war, and helped forge an alliance that could reshape the power balance of the galaxy. More importantly, he had found his place, not as a neutral party, but as a force for change in a corrupt system. The irony wasn't lost on him. A mercenary from a death world, working with criminals to fight corruption. But in a galaxy where official peacekeepers plotted mass destruction for political gain, perhaps traditional definitions of right and wrong needed reconsideration. Are you ready, advisor? Valeth asked, her containment suit pulsing with anticipation. Felix nodded, setting aside philosophical concerns for practical matters. Let's begin. As he stood to address the gathered representatives, Felix couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was about to learn why Deathworlders had survived their harsh planets, not just through strength or violence, but through adaptation, cooperation, and the relentless pursuit of survival against overwhelming odds. And any system that underestimated those qualities was already doomed.